Alright, so spoiler alert, wall breakers, they're not very good. But you know what is very good? This goddamn channel. So like, subscribe and things, thank you ladies. Anyway, because of how bad this card actually is, I doubt I'll have many on-screen scenarios as we discuss the good parts of them. But to be fair, there aren't too many good parts, so like, we'll probably live. Their role in the game is incredibly undefined. Cards that have this undefined role, such as like rural recruits, tend to struggle because people can't really find a way to put them into decks. The wall breaker's damage is nowhere near high enough to be a direct punish play. If somebody invests, then they can easily just leave this and take that free elixir advantage to beat you with. Or they can defend it for equal elixir and build a counter push from that defensive value and ruin you that way. As a defensive unit, they do literally nothing here either. Sure, they can like kite a little bit, but really just use an ice golem because that's really not what this card was built for. Their undefined role within the game makes them pretty useless, and overall I have no idea where the Clash team thought they would fit in, but more on card design later. As for their stats, you're not really looking at anything too crazy either. They do 400 damage each, which is somewhere between a Prince and a Mega Knight jump. That isn't really bad for damage, but it does mean that you'd still need to successfully get these guys to the tower around 7 times to actually take it down. This is made worse by the fact that their HP is really low. One of them will literally die before reaching the tower, which is a waste of 400 potential damage. With anything tanking for them, it's possible to receive a double connection. Even skeletons in front of them will give them enough protection to double their damage output. However, this means that you'll always be spending more than their cost when using this card. It is impossible to obtain their maximum potential without spending over their cost, which is odd design and really just makes me wonder why they don't just reach the tower and do like 200 damage each. But hey, that's another side note for later. When using them as a win condition, you'll probably only get 1 hit for every push that you do, meaning that you'll need 7 successful wall breaker pushes for it to be considered your primary damage dealer, and that's pretty difficult to do when you judge their interactions. Consider that every single troop targeting unit in the game counters them except for Ice Spirit and Sparky. Ice Spirit has real low damage and can't stop them from sprinting to the tower, and Sparky, well, just does Sparky things for ages and doesn't actually attack them. The wall breakers target buildings, but weirdly do splash damage so can catch troops accidentally at times. However, this is mostly useless information because literally nobody places their troops right on top of the tower anyway. Even cards that are pure trash against low health units, such as Inferno Dragon, will counter the wall breakers. It truly just sums up how bad they are, to be honest. Overall, it's pretty difficult to get them to a tower, and when you do, they don't even get that much reward. So next up I want to talk about the usage in theory, what changes I would make, and a little bit about card design in Clash Royale. This will be an entirely gameplay section just because there's not too much I can edit in when talking about how the card should function. On screen it's bridge spam gameplay, so like just imagine the bandit is wall breakers or some shiz, I don't know. Anyway, I believe this card should work in the bridge spam archetype. When we look at cards like Bandit, they're not going to win you games alone because they're rather easily countered and don't do the most damage in the world. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's pretty much a description of the wall breakers, except Bandit actually has defensive usages and doesn't just instantly die, so it is viable within the metagame. I believe wall breakers are supposed to compound your lead, if that makes sense. It sort of works like a rage spell does. If you have a minion horde in your opponent's tower, then the tower is probably dead, but if you were to add a rage spell to that minion horde, then you're just taking your already gained advantage and making it 10 times more. Wall breakers are similar to that compounding concept. If your opponent can't defend a battle ram and a bandit, then adding in wall breakers means that you'll get an extra 800 damage from this push and just extends the advantage you already had. They are in no way designed to be a lone reliable win condition, but that card design usually works out when you think of things like battle ram and bandit. They just require another semi-win condition to be reliable enough to win you games. Now, what on earth does this card need happening to it? Well, I'm pretty sure that everyone agrees that this card was designed pretty incorrectly. To me, they need to provide more of a reliable threat. 400 damage for free elixir when spent is actually an okay trade in isolation, but the matter of fact is that your opponent can spend literally any troop that isn't Ice Spirit or Sparky and get free elixir off of whatever they just spent. Or if your opponent is playing a more investment style deck, they can simply ignore this and take their free elixir advantage into their push because they'll only ever take 400 damage anyway. I think their initial attack speed needs to be a lot quicker, and then doing slightly less damage for the free elixir cost. Maybe bring it to around 200 to 250 each so they are a big threat, but still have basically 0 health, meaning they're easy to counter, but will actually require a response. This makes them a much better card alone and not having to rely on an entire setup just for their 400 damage. My last point here was just about the card design from Supercell. I won't rant on this for too long, but ultimately I don't really know what the point in this card was. It doesn't really add anything different to the game and doesn't really fill a role that will make us play any differently when the card is in the game. With the already growing card pool, it's pretty difficult to balance the game, especially as we approach 100 total cards. These sort of somewhat pointless cards will just add to the rock paper scissors aspect that sometimes engulfs CR, and eventually the game will just like implode or force Supercell into removing some people's favorite cards, and it's a problem that will occur eventually with more and more random and mostly useless cards being added to the game. That's pretty much all there is to wall breakers in my opinion. So we'll end off with comment of the day. On the 10k special, Poniatowski Productions asks if I'm going to be playing Brawl Stars content on this channel, and I thought I should probably just cover it in a video. Samsung have sort of disabled internal recording on the devices, so the only way I can record Brawl Stars is through an emulator, and like, I'm gonna need a ton of practice on that before I'm any good. To practice, I'm gonna be doing a few Brawl Stars streams on this channel around like 4 PM GMT on some days. It'll just be for practice and so I can test out the style of content. As for this video, that's all I have for those wall breaker things. I hope you enjoyed, and peace.